7 come 11. Oh, it's a roll of the dice, a spinning wheel. It's a luck of the draw.
Hi, this is Tino, Music You Can See. We're here with blues rocker Brad Wilson. Hi, Brad.
Hello, everybody. Great to be with you. We're excited to be in this incredible location on a Saturday afternoon to play some rock and blues music.
Okay, Visalia, California.
We're a small community in the central part of the state. Most people know about Visalia and come to Visalia because we are the gateway to the Sequoia National Park, which is right above us, about 90 minutes.
It's a beautiful country there.
It is. It's very warm, so it's exciting to be here in Southern California when the temperature's in the mid-70s with a breeze.
So you're really taking off in the last 5 or 6 years is really when you started building your catalog and started your record releases, correct?
Yes, it has been a very, very exciting time for us right now. We had our last record, Blues Thunder, produced a song called Step by Step and Change It Up and Blue Shadows, 3 singles right in a row that were embraced by radio worldwide, especially in Europe where we charted with the Blues Thunder record. We're currently out with our live album called Power Blues Guitar Live.
Nice. And that you recorded that live over a series of different shows on tour?
We were lucky enough to open up for the world famous band Chicago, and they were playing in about 4,000 or 5,000 seaters, some very, very large shows, and so we had a great sound in that kind of a room with that many people. So they gave us the opportunity to use our own equipment, so we recorded live in front of thousands of people, and we're very excited that Chicago gave us the time to get the quality of the sound, so that the guitar tone and the drums, they gave us plenty of time to get a great sound. So we did 3 shows with them, and out of that we produced the new record Power Blues Guitar Live.
Nice, nice. You're getting played in all 7 continents, and thankfully because of satellite radio. Talk a little bit about satellite radio and how you just kind of exploded all over the world.
It's a huge opportunity for artists like myself that are producing their own music and working independently. The Blues and the Rock and Blues Radio Network is a collection of both volunteers and paid radio hosts. In the UK they call them presenters, and they dedicate themselves to independent music. And so what we're finding out now, that the word of mouth and internet radio in Australia, in Europe and in Canada and in the United States, there's this wonderful bond that has been created with people in radio, especially in internet radio, and that bond has allowed them to share all the great bands that are coming up. So for us, it was just a huge, huge opportunity to have our record embraced by these independent radio presenters and DJs and radio show hosts, because what it gave us an opportunity that we'd normally have to have on a big record label. And so all of a sudden we're being heard around the world, and we're charting, and they're logging this into the charts, the blues charts. So we're coming up on the Roots charts, the California charts, the Living Blues charts, and so our music, for the first time, and this is happening for a number of artists, is able to flourish and be heard outside of the big label system.
Nice, absolutely. Now, you're really caught on to the placement thing because, really, I guess in this day and age, the new frontier of where artists like yourself and songwriters are going to make money is going to be placement. You've been in the John Carpenter movie. Talk a little bit about where your music's been used outside of traditional records.
I originally was living in Los Angeles. I'd moved from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and I'd come down here to be involved with the music scene, and luckily enough, I'd met the music supervisor for a television show called The Young and the Restless, and so they started using my music on television. And then I was a session musician at Cherokee Studios that was run by some famous producers named the Robb Brothers, and they were producing movies for John Carpenter, working with him on the soundtracks. And John Carpenter and I hit it off, and we worked together on a movie called Vampires and a movie called Ghost of Mars. And the great thing about that is that he was using mostly all instrumental music. So on the Vampires movie, I had the only song with vocals and lyrics, and it became the main song for John Carpenter's Vampires. And John Carpenter normally was famous for producing movies that don't cost a lot of money but make money for the studios. But this particular one, John Carpenter's Vampires, came out. It was the #1 movie in the United States, and that just rocketed my song to attention. And we left Los Angeles to do a tour opening for Cheap Trick and 38 Special. And the tough part about that, those bands were in tour buses and we were in a van.
Wow, and the trailer behind you.
Yeah, so they're sleeping at night while they're traveling, and we're getting up at 6 in the morning to catch the tour wherever they were going. But it was fun. It allowed us to tour the whole United States in support of that song, and working with John Carpenter was incredible.
Absolutely, and you're the opening band, and you actually had a song that everybody already knew and heard based on the movie.
It was, yes, it was, and it was the opportunity that the talent buyers would book us based on the fact that we had a story and we had something going on. Because, as you know, booking is very, very difficult. I think it's probably the toughest thing any act has to face, is to try to get out and find an audience and to find gigs, which are very difficult to find. One of the things that's been tremendous for us is that since we do a blues, and for the most part it's blues rock or rock and blues, again, there is this incredible community of blues aficionados, blues societies, blues booking people. And it has been a thing that changed my life was the fact that as I met more people that are involved with the blues community, I realized how tight of a bond across the country and around the world the blues people are, and they will be able to get the word out and help book the band and also support the bands as they travel. So you know, the one thing about blues is I think people have to understand that it's also a roots music, and it also has a lot of rock in it. So it's not just traditional blues as people might think of coming out of Chicago or Memphis. The blues community is an inclusive, all-embracing, wide community of musicians, promoters, and record people that like the feeling and like the excitement that comes across with blues and blues rock. And one thing, if people haven't checked out blues for the first time, it is the opposite of what you think. It's a good time.
Absolutely. It's really foundational in so many different rock genres.
It is. I'm excited about blues rock because I grew up listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, and Gary Moore, and Jeff Beck, Buddy Guy, B.B. King. So blues, and I got to go back and cite the Rolling Stones.
Absolutely.
About this. Is that blues and rock are really together musically and vibe-wise. So if you're writing or playing music, one of the great things about blues and the blues songwriting from a lead guitar point of view is the structure of the song. The way the chords are structured and the way the songwriting is it allows the guitar player to do a lot of solos, and it allows, if you have a harmonica player, to do a lot of solos. The structure of the songs and the groove of the beat allows for a lot of improvisation.
A lot of freedom.
A lot of freedom. You can really rip it up with blues.
And, you know, blues being uniquely American culture, I guess, we would have never had the British invasion had it not been for blues artists that came before those guys.
Absolutely. I mean, gosh, when you want to talk about lead guitar for me, it's listening to these incredible guitar players like Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Buddy Guy, going to Gary Moore, because what was happening is they were taking the blues riffs, the Chicago blues riffs, the Memphis blues riffs, and they were turning them way up with a little vibrato, and all of a sudden, like for me, I was living in the Bay Area as a kid, and Bill Graham would do all the concerts at the Fillmore and the Winterland and shows like that, and we'd go there to see somebody famous, and Bill Graham would come out and say, "I'm going to introduce you to Albert King," and Albert King would come out and just absolutely mesmerize everybody, and we'd say, what is the tone of that guitar? What kind of tone is that? Is he getting out to make that sound, you know? And so what was happening was that the great British bands were commercializing blues like the Stones without losing the feel. They were keeping the emotion in it.
Absolutely.
The motion that was coming from blues, but they were turning it up using Marshall amps and playing a lot faster riffs. But what was happening, and I got to go back to Hendrix because You know, I was listening to Hendrix all along the Watchtower recently, and I was going, and so I was checking out some of Hendrix's interviews, and he was saying, you know what I'm really doing is I'm taking blues and I'm just really doing the Hendrix power ripping guitar thing to it. So what's going on with taking really blues and having it affect lead guitar has been going on for a long time.
Well, Brad, it's been such a pleasure. Again, from Visalia. So I know that you have a counterpart in San Francisco, Tommy Castro.
Yeah, I've done some shows with Tommy Castro. He plays a great soulful groove that he puts out with his band. We've done a lot of shows together. It's a great matchup. I'm excited what's happening for me with the success of my new record, Power Blues Guitar Live. Our website is bradwilsonlive.com, where we invite people to check us out. We're on Facebook if you want to get a hold of the band. We're over there on Facebook. But for me, I just want to say thank you so much to the blues community and people like yourself and musicUcansee. That is just an opportunity to give independent artists a chance to reach out and say hello to their audience and talk about their music. It's a pleasure to meet you today.
And thank you, Brad, for keeping the blues alive. This is Tino, musicUcansee at Shoreline Village.
Keep on knocking.